Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry is the culty church that I joined, and in my third year internship, I ended up receiving a prophetic word from an esteemed prophet in these circles named Sean Bowles, and he ended up saying that God was giving me to my ex-husband, who ended up being an abuser and a psychopath. At the time, I was working at a restaurant called Tomato Pie Cafe, and he ended up calling out where I worked, and that just bolstered everybody's belief that this was 100% God and that God had given him this very detailed information about me. So while the conference is going on, I was actually at work at Tomato Pie Cafe, so I wasn't at the conference and in the room at the time. So all of a sudden, while I am at work, I start receiving phone calls because I'm the one who takes the to-go orders, and I start receiving phone calls constantly, people saying, "Are you Jubilee from Tomato Pie Cafe?" I am obviously very confused. I have no idea how these people know that I work here. I say yes, and they tell me that there was a prophecy given for my boyfriend, and that Sean Bowles says that we are supposed to be together and that we are going to get married. My phone starts blowing up with all of our friends telling me about this word as well, and I'm freaking out. And honestly, guys, I was on cloud 9 because I had always prayed to God when I was younger that I would just know whenever I met the person that I was supposed to marry, that something inside of me would just know, or that God would make it clear. So here I am getting all of these phone calls and everybody telling me that one of the most esteemed prophets in these circles has called me out by name and is saying that this is my person. I did want to touch on something. A lot of people in the comments have been saying that Bethel and other affiliated ministries like this always had a rule to never prophesy dates, mates, or babies. And this is true. This is something that they did teach us. They said, prophesy, it's holy or whatever, but stay away from dates, mates, so who you're going to marry, and babies. Stay away from those things because you don't want to cause harm if you are wrong. Did this stop people from doing it? Absolutely not. It happened all the time. But Sean got to get away with it because if you go back and you look at the prophetic word, he is claiming that he's not prophesying a marriage. He's saying, God showed me the number 50. 50 means Jubilee. What does Jubilee mean to you? So now he gets to claim, well, the Holy Spirit told me this. I didn't go out of my way to prophesy a mate. Okay. But obviously, we know now, if you've done a bit of research, people call him like the Google prophet or the iPad prophet because he gets all of his prophetic words based off of the internet. Within a couple weeks of receiving this prophetic word, Ted flew out to Texas to go ask my parents if he could marry me. So he went by himself. I was not there, so that was crazy. In hindsight, I talked to my sisters and they say that it was so awkward. Like, imagine all of a sudden your sister's only been dating this guy. Guys, we were together like a month at this point. It's absolutely insane. Okay. So this guy flies out to Texas to meet the parents without your sister and is saying, I really want to marry her. God said that we are going to be together. So he stayed with my family for a couple days and asked for my hand in marriage. But we were on the fast track to getting married, and he was still completely love bombing me. And I'm going to tell you guys a couple cringy stories. Okay. One time we were at Buffalo Wild Wings. He stood up, made everybody be quiet, and said, "I want everybody to know that I love this girl." That is like how loudly Ted was trying to love me. Like, we would walk past people on the street and he'd be like, "Hey, I just want you to know that I love this girl." So it was a lot. It was a lot. And that is pretty much where I was living in. I was thinking, I have this godly man who everybody loves, and he is obsessed with me. He's loving me so loudly. He is sure about me. And I don't know. Now I have this prophet saying that we are supposed to be together. So I'm like, I guess let's do it. We're doing it. Even though I did feel like I loved him as a person, but I was not super duper in love with him, and I was not very attracted to him, but I was going with the flow because I fully believed that this was God's will for my life. Here is a happy picture from that time. So I'm still getting to know him during this time. Guys, you need to realize, spoiler alert, we get engaged, okay? But from the time that we started dating to the time that we got engaged, 2 months. 2 months. It was incredibly, incredibly fast. So about a week before the proposal, I had the thought that I should ask him if he watches Korn. Because remember, at this point, I think that he is the purest person in the whole world. He said he has been waiting his entire life. But if you know or have been raised in the church, you know that the topic of Korn is like a very big deal. And, you know, it's something that you want to ask somebody if you are dating them. There is a beetle walking towards me. Guys, I'm like so paranoid because when I first sat down, a scorpion walked by me. So I'm pausing my video every few seconds. Okay, it turned course. So I ended up asking him if he watched Korn. At first he said no. And I felt like he was lying. Like there was something there that I could just tell that he was not telling me the truth. So naturally I asked again. And after a few times asking and saying, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" he ended up admitting that not only did he watch it, but he was addicted to it. So whether or not you have positive views of Korn, negative views of Korn, okay, the idea that someone is addicted to it, I think we can all agree, like, not great, okay? Addiction, once it gets to that level, that is not good. So apparently he was actually in therapy specifically for that addiction. Now I am feeling completely unsettled because one, he lied to me. Also, I'm thinking, well, how much do I not know? How much are we not being transparent with each other? So I am spinning, but I am drawn to this prophetic word and I am feeling like, well, it's still God's will and we are just going to work it out later. And while I thought that that revelation was a big deal at the time, little did I know that not only was he addicted to that, he was living a complete double life out in Pennsylvania. Follow for the next part.